afternoon, everyone. This is Tom Moore from VikeFans.com, and I'd like to welcome Minnesota Vikings defensive end Brian Robison to the broadcast today. Brian, we want to start off by congratulating you on a new contract that likely allows you to finish your entire career as a Minnesota Viking. How does it feel to have all your hard work on and off the field culminate in a contract extension?
It feels great. It's an exciting time for me and my family. Being able to stay in one place for your whole career is that's something very special. Not a whole lot of players get to do that in the NFL, so I'm very excited about it.
Well, before we talk football, I understand you competed in the Texas Bass Classic fishing tournament during the bye week, and you finished 10th, but your pop says that he is by far the best fisherman in the family, and he would have finished top 5. How do you respond to these boasts by your dad?
Well, I would say that by far, Dad is also the best liar in the family. So, for him to say that he had finished 5th, I would say if you probably triple that, that's actually the place we get, so probably somewhere around 15th.
We'll make sure he knows it, and we'll tell you what he says. Well, knowing you're staying with the Vikings 4 more years, do you have any plans to do a little bit more fishing up north and maybe teaching your daughter the art of catching walleyes?
I mean, absolutely. Minnesota is a great place to bass fish. I mean, there's so many small lakes that are kind of untouched, and not a whole lot of people bring their boats in there and create a lot of havoc on the fish. So, I mean, obviously, that's something that I would love to do more often than I have in the past. And then, I mean, that's something that I would cherish as a moment, is having my daughter on the boat with me or whatever, and just being able to catch some fish with her.
When you look at the lakes that you've either fished on or heard about in Minnesota, which one would you recommend for bass fishing?
Well, I mean, obviously, one of the best lakes I've fished on is Lake Minnetonka. You know, it gets a lot of traffic and stuff like that, but, I mean, it's great for dock fishing. You can get up next to the bulkheads, things like that, and catch a lot of fish. So it's a fun lake to fish. It's very diverse in the way you can fish it. You can, you kind of flip up against things. You can pitch underneath docks. You can go up, and you can, really do a little bit of deep water fishing. So, I mean, it's really a great lake to go fish on. The other lake, Mille Lacs, I haven't been on yet, but people tell me it's just an amazing smallmouth factory, and so I'm looking forward to getting on that here pretty soon.
Well, if we can turn our attention to football, Brian, it was great to see the Vikings right the 2013 ship in London with a win over the Steelers. But I have to ask you, any chance you filed an assault charge with the police before you left as a result of Pittsburgh tackle Marcus Gilbert constantly holding and choking you during the game at Wembley Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of wondering if it was legal to do that in London for a little while, but bottom line is I take that upon myself. I've got to be able to get off those blocks and not allow someone to hold me and be able to get to the quarterback. So I've got to do a better job of when I get held, regardless of how egregious it is, I've got to be able to get off that block and make it sack.
Do you tend to get more frustrated at a player that holds you during the games, or the fact that the referees are missing the calls?
I mean, absolutely. I think anytime you feel like it's, kind of a blatant call, you get a little frustrated with it. But like I said, we always have a saying in our room: it's not a sin to get held, it's a sin to stay held. And so we gotta make sure that next time I get off those blocks.
What's the process when it's a clear, blatant holding call like that? Are there complaints and film sent to the NFL offices? And then what type of feedback do you guys get back?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes they'll send stuff in, but bottom line is it's in the past, so we're kind of moving forward, and so I haven't really thought about it too much, since that game. I'm just ready to move forward and get on with Carolina.
Sounds good. And I understand when you play against Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, you guys do a lot of jawing back and forth during the game. Brian, what types of things will you try to say to a quarterback to get under their skin?
Well, really between me and Aaron Rodgers, it's more of a friendly deal. It's not so much that I'm trying to cuss him out or anything like that. We just, we'll kind of say some jokes back and forth with each other and stuff like that. Aaron truly is, a great guy. He's a great quarterback in this league. But yeah, anytime you can maybe say a little something to get under his skin or whatever, it always helps. But Aaron seems to be the type of guy that, no matter what you say, he doesn't let it affect the way he plays. I mean, that's what makes him so great in this league. So, we just, instead of trying to jaw with him as far as talking smack or anything like that, we just try to put the pads on him and let that grind down on him.
Well, after this many seasons in the NFL, is there a particular quarterback that you actually relish sacking?
Yeah, I mean, really any quarterback in the division, but obviously I love sacking Jay Cutler. I haven't had as many as I'd like to on him. since he came into the division. But, yeah, I'd like to get a hold of him a few more times.
Well, it's funny watching Ben Roethlisberger a couple weeks ago. He really isn't a mobile quarterback in the traditional sense, but, boy, he can sure slide step and get away from people. What's his magic?
Well, I think the magic is just, being that he's so strong and everything. And a lot of times when you hit him, you think he's just going to be this brick wall that you just grab a hold of and bring down. And he's not. He's very fluid with the way he moves. Even as subtle as it is, he makes just enough move to make you miss. And then he kind of has just a real good, just really being able to, when you hit him, let his body kind of go limp and just kind of go with the flow. And that's really hard to sack a quarterback like that. You think is going to be strong, is going to be real solid, and then all of a sudden it just, the whole shoulder turns or whatever. So he's really figured out a way to make guys miss, and he's obviously made a name for himself doing it.
No doubt. Well, most fans see the defensive end position as merely a pass rushing specialist and don't understand why you can't get 2 or 3 sacks in every game. Can you help listeners understand what negative things might happen if you simply pinned your ears back and rushed the passer on every play?
Well, if we did that, we'd obviously open up some holes on the inside and allow teams to run all over us. And that's the tough thing about defensive end is really we got to make sure that we stay in tune to our keys and play our keys and not just go running up the field, because when you do that, you really put a lot of pressure on the linebackers and it allows guys to run on you. But sacks can be very misleading in this league too. Sack numbers. A guy can go out and have 3 sacks in a game, but not really play that well. But it's really about the consistency of being able to play the run, consistency of being able to get to the quarterback and put pressure on him, whether it's a sack or not. And a lot of times, a lot of your best games, best rushes don't culminate into a sack. So, that's what I would say to people is, don't let the sack numbers or anything like that really determine on how good of a player it is. It obviously helps when you have those numbers, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
Well, it seems like being a left defensive end would be more difficult than right defensive end because the quarterback, assuming, most are right-handed, they can see you coming. Is that true? Is that the way you see it?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Obviously you get your better tackles on the other side, they're better left tackles because they're guarding the blind side. But a lot of times you get to deal with an open side, just being able to, once you realize it's fast, being able to go after it. Whereas the left side, a lot of times you got to deal with, some tight ends being in alignment. Then you also, once you get past the tackle, you're looking at quarterback eye to eye, and he sees you coming, so he's able to make the move, whereas a lot of times as the right defensive end, those guys don't even see you coming if you're able to get a good pass rush on a tackle, and you're able to just hit them without them even knowing.
Well, it seems like over the past couple of years, because you've been really effective, not only in sacks, but quarterback pressures and hurries, you're starting to see more tight ends end up on your side and chipping you. What's the challenge for you to beat that basically double-team block on almost every play?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really a tough duty, but it's really kind of a compliment to myself. Anytime you can get teams that come over to a left defensive end and want to chip, like they have really this year, really want to chip you and kind of get you off your rhythm, you kind of take it as a compliment. But the bottom line is you can't just take it as a compliment and relax. You got to find a way to get there, and a lot of times it's unconventional, just scratching and clawing to get there. But sometimes you just got to find a way.
And would you say it's probably an accurate assessment that you're held on almost every play?
I wouldn't say every play, but I'd say it definitely, there could be at least 5 or 10 more holding calls every game, but a lot of times you're just not going to get that.
Well, as they always say, it's legal if you get away with it.
Exactly.
Well, as a kid, Brian, I know you were a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and in a few weeks the Vikings travel to Texas to play them. Is there any extra incentive to play well against the team you followed in your youth?
I think anytime you can go home, whether it be, Dallas Cowboys or the Houston Texans, anytime you go back home, it's an opportunity to play in front of your family, play in front of your friends, and all the people you grew up with. So obviously there's always a little extra incentive, but try to play every game with 100%, and that's not going to be any exception. I mean, it obviously, at the end of the game, it feels a little more special if you win or if you get a sack or something like that. But at the end of the day, you just got to play them like you would any other game.
And then last year about this time, you dressed up as Kiss singer and guitarist Gene Simmons for a Halloween party. Now, Simmons sang the national anthem in London, and I wondered if you had a chance to meet him. And if you did you tell him you thought you wore the Kiss outfit better?
I didn't get to, but I was hoping I would get to meet him just so we could, kind of talk about who looked better in it. And, it's unfortunate we didn't get to talk about it because I think he probably would have agreed with me that I looked much better in it.
Youth has always served, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, it seems in 2013 you have a new end zone and sack celebration, and we're curious, what exactly are we looking at out there? We saw it a little bit in minicamp when you beat Everson Griffin in a drill to get to the quarterback dummy. What are you doing out there?
To tell you the truth, I don't really know. I guess, that's just some sort of groove that went through my body, and I did it during the off season. A lot of people asked for me to do it again, and so I did it again, and, maybe I'll stick with it. It depends on what the fans think, but I'll either stick with that or I'm open to suggestions or whatever. So we'll see. A lot of times, I'm not a big celebration guy. I kind of just, go about my business, act like you've been there before. But at the same time, it's kind of fun to entertain the fans a little bit.
No doubt. Well, the more you do it, you realize eventually we're going to have to name the thing.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, finally, Brian, as you may know, Vikefans.com is the official home of the Brian Robison fan club. So if we were to hold a dinner to celebrate your on-field performances with the membership and you were in charge of the menu, what are we serving everyone? Is it a James Coney Island set of hot dogs or something more sophisticated?
Heck no, we're going James Coney Island hot dogs all day long.
And what do you put on the side with those? What are we serving with it?
Well, I'm kind of a condiment guy, so, with me, I like my James Coney Island hot dogs two ways. I like them with chili, mustard, and cheese, or I like them with cheese, mustard, ketchup, mayo, and relish.
See, the one thing that's nice about that is people talk about, get your protein, get your vegetables, but you can't underestimate the value of those nitrates you're putting in with that chili and the hot dogs.
Exactly.
Well, Brian, I know you have to get back to meetings and walkthroughs today, but we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us at VikeFans.com and want to wish you the best of success on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Drive. And down he goes, and the football is loose, and Robison has it. And Robison inside the 20, the 10, and that is a touchdown for Minnesota. Stripped away by Jared Allen and Brian Robison.
Tired of losing these. I've only been here 2 years. Look at him over there. Let's run it then. We're going 2 out of 3. We're going 2 out of 3. Hit. No, you crazy. Let's go. Hey, I'm done for the day.